Hey, great greetings and good morning. Getting started. That's what we're going to do, right? So, yesterday, what we were doing is talking a little bit about this whole mode of time and mode of money, right? And we figured out that there were 5 modes of time, 5 modes of money. And by the way, today I am broadcasting from our studios, Signature Sound. Luis and his team are doing a great job. We're going to be doing some more videos with the Team Dixon and Team Howard and Alan and a few other folks. And we'll be having some updated videos and seeing their progress. So today we're at the studio doing a studio shoot. So that's cool. Anyway, so back to modes of time, modes of money. 5 modes of time, 5 modes of money. Yesterday we talked about making money and making time. And then we figured out that when we're taking time and time is money, sometimes we get confused, and that often will lead us to getting this feeling of stuck. You ever feel stuck? Right. Me too. So when we're stuck, the thing that we want to do is figure out, where are we? Why are we feeling stuck financially? And what do we do next? And part of this whole process in this program is really designed to get you past being stuck so you can define the life financially that you really desire, right? It's one thing to say, I want something. It's another thing to say, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to do that, right? That's a different mindset, setting the mind. And so today what I'm going to do is I'm going to marry together the saving time and saving money and talk a little bit about how they're linked together, time and money. One of the things that we do, I think, a lot is we try to do something and we try to save time. Maybe we take a shortcut, right? You ever take a shortcut and then it blew up on you and it ended up taking longer, like 5 times longer, costs 5 times more, right? So when that happens, generally, we figure out pretty quickly that the shortcut probably didn't work. And I think what happens is, a lot of times in our financial life, in money, we're looking for the shortcut, right? And rarely are you ever going to find a situation, at least in my experience, where you're going to find a shortcut to getting rich. I guess there's a few people out there that do that, but it's sort of like the thing I read an article recently that talked about people that had won millions of dollars in the lotto. And what it had pointed out, that within 5 years, 80% of them, nearly 80%, 70 something, might as well have been 80%, were broke, right? One had won the lotto for over $100 million, and in less than 5 years, broke as a doorknob, right? And the whole thing is, that's just a great indication of what I'm talking about. That's a person that didn't set their life up to have the capacity to handle a $100 million lotto winning, right? And so it was just spin, right? What happens is we get into these patterns and routines that we've learned about, and these patterns and routines very often work against us. Auto pay. I keep going back to that because there's a lot of that. A lot of everything that we do is set up on auto response, autopilot. We're not connected or engaged. Most car accidents are not accidents. They're just not paying attention. And then bam, you run into somebody, or somebody runs into you. And again, I put out a challenge yesterday. If you're up for it, and I know you are, try this experiment. Friday at 6 p.m., whatever your local time 6 p.m. is, just turn off everything electronic. Turn off your TV, turn off your radio, turn off your telephone, turn off your computer and your internet, and go dark on all of that connection until Monday morning at 6 a.m. And then observe and notice how wound up you get initially maybe read a book, maybe take a walk, maybe go do something other than sitting there with your device or on the internet, right? And the challenge with it is that we built such a deep pattern of doing it that for a lot of people, it's a real struggle to disconnect, even for the period of time from Friday to Monday morning. So see how you fare in that experiment. All right, so back to modes of time and modes of money. What I've done over the many years that I've been in practice is I've found a pattern that I can identify that is highly successful, at least in predicting what's going to happen with a particular situation. Let's say you have a client that hasn't filed or paid their taxes for, say, 3 or 4 years. Generally, I know from years of experience that if a few things aren't done to reorganize the approach to that aspect of financial life, they are destined to repeat that pattern again. And we actually have had clients that have come back 3 or 4 times with the same problem. It's not that they're not filing the taxes or paying their taxes. It's the patterns. There's nothing changing about the pattern. It's not transformed into something else. And when you go, in some cases, we've had them for as many as 12, 13 years, right? And this pattern not only creates the chaos, right? Because it's a pain in the ass to deal with all that crap. But more importantly, think of the lost opportunity, the house that you couldn't buy, the retirement plan that you couldn't fund, the vacation to Europe that you wanted to take. All of that got pushed away because we haven't dealt with the underlying problem. And so what happens in our financial life is we have a lot of that and we settle, right? Remember I talked about a couple of weeks ago, settling for less than what we desire. Nobody wants to settle, right? Nobody ever wants to settle, but yet we do that all the time and we compromise. There are a few things I believe, at least it's for me, in my financial life that are non-negotiable. In other words, pretty much everything's negotiable, but there's a few things that aren't negotiable. Telling my money where to go so I don't have to ask where it went in the business. With my wife Susan and I, telling our money where to go so we don't have to ask where it went, right? All of these things are non-negotiable. And the reason that they're non-negotiable is because the minute I compromise and do something different, the whole thing falls apart and doesn't work. All right, so have you ever taken a situation and you thought, oh, I'll do this, but I'm going to take a shortcut and I'll save some time, right? And then you do whatever that was to save time, and it ended up costing you more time. That's what I call a shortcut, right? And oftentimes we want to shortcut things in our financial life and just get to the next step, right? And the problem with just doing that and getting to the next step is we don't have a road or a foundation that connects us from this step to the next step. We're just jumping ahead to the next step. How much of the financial decisions that we make every day do we contemplate? Do we actually consider? Is this a need? Is this a want? Do I really want it? And do I really need it? Or can it wait? And when we're investing time, what is the outcome of that investment of time? In other words, what are you investing time in, and what do you expect in return for that investment? It's just like investing money. If we're going to invest money, Susan and I, into something, we want a return on the investment. The higher the risk, the more the return that we want. If it's a low risk, maybe not so much. Well, your time is valuable also. It's a commodity and an asset, both. It's both things. And so it's sort of like, you ever have a conversation with somebody and say, hey, do you have a minute? I just want to share something with you. And then you're there for the minute, they're sharing with you. And then like 90 minutes later, right? 89 more minutes than what they said. Do you have a minute? Yes, I have 1 minute. And then 90 minutes later, they're still blah, 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 right? And it's like, dude, I mean, it's like I'll never get that hour and a half of my life back, right? 90 minutes. And did you feel like that was just like a big waste of time? And yet we do that all the time. When you have time available from the minute that you wake to the minute you go to sleep, how are you investing the time? What is the return you want? Do you want money for the time? That's called a job or a business. Do you want knowledge? It's called education. Do you want wisdom? Maybe get a mentor. Maybe talk to somebody building a team, a support team around you. Do you want new information? Maybe that's called research. You know, how are you investing the time, and what is the return on the investment of your time? Because if you haven't defined the return, then you're going to be left feeling, it's been my experience, like you're wasting time, right? Because you're spending time on stuff, but there's no defined outcome that you want in return for the time that you've invested. And if you think about your time like money, because time is money, the time that you're there, you know, blah, 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 with somebody that needed a minute and was 90 minutes later, could have been in 90 minutes that you could have invested in learning how to do day trading, or learning how to, you know, to buy stocks, or how to buy real estate, or, you know, any number of other things that could make money, right? But there we are, you know, blah, blah, blah. Investing time is no different than investing money. The principal purpose of the investment is return on investment. Make a profit. The whole reason, like doing day trading, the whole purpose of day trading is to make a profit. It's not about what the company does. I could give a shit what the company does. I don't care. It's a company. It's publicly traded. I'm going to buy the stock, and if it trades in a range that I like and I want, then I'm going to buy it, and then I'm going to close that position and take a profit. And it's a very efficient way for the market to work, and that's how it's supposed to work. And the market doesn't respect inefficiency. It doesn't respect wasting time. And if you have your stock has gone up in value and you haven't taken the profit, then you haven't made anything, and the market will take it back from you. That's what I've learned, at least in terms of day trading. So your time is being invested in something. For an experiment, maybe try this for the rest of the week. Just pay attention to how you're investing your time. Are you deliberate in the amount of time that you're allocating to do something? What is the return that you want back from the time that you committed to doing whatever the thing that is? It's like going down to the garage. It's like this weekend I got to go down to the garage. I keep putting that shit off, right? We got like the candy wrapper under the seat, right? We know it has to be done. We don't do it, and we procrastinate. We put it off. So this weekend I'm going to go down because there's some shit down there that I got to clean up, and I just have been putting it off, right? So I'm going to invest time in fixing and cleaning that up, that little area, and my little workshop area, and then that'll be done, right? The expected return is that it's going to be neat, and everything's going to be put away in its place, and then I'm going to be happy, right? How you invest time is a symbol or a pattern of maybe how you invest money, and if you're not looking at the return on the investment for your time or your money, then don't be surprised if you're left feeling like you've wasted a lot of time during the day. That's where that comes from, because there's not a clear outcome that we have defined that we want in some return. We want to gain some knowledge. We want to gain some information. Maybe we want to feel good and help somebody and donate some time to some cause or some friend or whatever. But so often we are in autopilot. We're not connected. We're not engaged, and we just go through the motion. Again, going back to the hamster on the wheel. And at the end of the day, you're left with this feeling that you did a lot of stuff, but nothing happened, nothing moved, and you're no farther ahead. In fact, you're probably behind. Well, that's why, because you haven't sat down, or at least for me, that's what I experienced. I didn't sit down and define what I was going to do and what I expected to have as an outcome, and then I'm ready to go. I got my day mapped out, and I am ready and on position, and I'm going, and that's what I do. I don't do it all the time, but I do it most of the time. Sometimes it just, I'm just, it doesn't work, and just, it doesn't work. But I can catch it and I can reset and adjust and pivot right away. And that's the best you can expect. At least you're aware of it and you can make the decision or the choice to do something different. When you're investing money, how do you invest money? What's your risk tolerance? If you don't know what that is, we'll have some tools up on the website. You'll right here scrolling at the bottom, right there. See that? We'll be putting some tools up later, either this week or next week. Assessing your risk tolerance is really understanding, how much squeeze factor you have when you put your money in any kind of investment. And oftentimes, what I have discovered, not only for myself but for clients, is people invest in things that they think they like, and then they don't know anything about how they work. And one of the things about that is, particularly in a business, used to be back in the day, you'd start a business with coming up with a business plan and coming up with a formulation of how you're going to execute the business plan. That doesn't work anymore. Not in today's world. Not in, when we were in the stage of a mass society and we were growing and building infrastructure and all of that, it might have worked then. Doesn't work now. We're a network society. Modeling your business plan can go in the shit can because it doesn't work. You need a business model, and that model has to be driven by a couple of really important factors. And if your business has been around for more than 10 years, it's probably outdated a little bit, like ours was, and you should be considering either retooling or reorganizing to bring that modeling effect, because you're going to get stuck in a situation very likely that you're going to waste both time and money trying to keep ahead of all of these transformational changes that we're continuing to see. And it's only going to get more, not less. So when you're investing money, what is your risk tolerance? What is your expected return? And are those things lined up? But your time is the same thing. And all I'm suggesting in terms of improving or making more efficient or more effective our relationship with our money is maybe perhaps we be a little bit more deliberate. Maybe we be a little bit more contemplative. Maybe we stop and ask different questions and take into consideration instead of jumping in both feet. Sometimes jumping in both feet is cool, like at a pool, right? Or at the beach. But when it comes to your time and your money, both are very valuable. I think time is priceless because you can't replace it. Once you've lived a day, that day is gone. And you're like me. You have a certain number of days allocated called your life, and then you have an expiration date. And once that hits, it's like it's over, right? And so how you invest every minute of every hour of every day really is not so much about how you invest it, but the return that you expect. So maybe just adjust the perspective a little bit. When I'm ready to do something, whatever the next something is, what is my expected outcome? What is my expected return? I don't have any spare time. Because when people ask me, do you have a spare minute? No, I actually don't. They're all accounted for today, but can get your number and make an appointment, right? And then we'll make an appointment. Do you have any spare change? No, don't have. They're all accounted for, and they're working really hard getting a return for me right now. So I don't have spare money, and I don't have spare time. That way, I don't get confused, and then I don't lose track of the money or the time. And it might sound a little corny, but it works, and it works very effectively because you become highly efficient at managing your financial life, which is one of the most important aspects of your life. Try living your life without any money. It can be done, but boy, what a pain in the ass. So I'm just going to give you a different way of looking at shit, and you can decide or choose if you want to look at it differently. But I suggest that when you're about to invest some time in something, if you don't define a clear outcome that you expect and a return on that time, you're going to be left frustrated That's where it comes from, feeling like you wasted time. And you didn't get any, and it's like, I'll never get that 90 minutes back in my life, right? You said a minute and you took 89 more minutes. Now, it wasn't a minute. Because if you'd have said 90 minutes, I'd have said no, make an appointment. But we do that, right? We get sucked in. And then it turns out to be something that we didn't expect. And it's the same thing with taking shortcuts. The minute that I figure I'm going to take a shortcut, there's a part of my brain that goes off like a big warning bell to remind me every other time that I did that, without exception, cost me more time, and most of the time cost me more money. So it's a warning. Don't take a shortcut. Every time you've done that, you have lost more time and more money. So I just avoid the temptation to take shortcuts, especially with the money, because it takes too much time to make it. And I want it to work harder for me and my wife than I've had to work for it. And I'm like you, I work my ass off for that. And I'm not going to just put it out there and let it be lazy and hang around on the beach having a martini waiting for a sunset, right? Get it? So it's got to go to work and it's got to get a return. And your time is the same way. All right. Have an awesome day. We're at the studio today shooting some updates with the Dixons and with the Howards and with Alan and maybe a few other people. Maybe Santa Claus will drop in and we'll see we can interview him. All right. Take care, and I'll see everybody tomorrow. Cheers.